If you see me looking down, it is because I took notes, because this is not just your everyday run-of-the-mill I hate Frozen, and particularly Elsa from Frozen rant, okay? This has been thought out very well, and I have so many reasons why I strongly dislike Elsa. And I don't know if I dislike her more or if I dislike Disney more for pretending that I'm actually supposed to like her or care about her at all as a character, and I don't. So here's a video about why. So first, you might be thinking, Elsa couldn't possibly be that bad, right? I mean, how could she? And just so you understand the magnitude of how much I dislike this character, I dislike her more than Scar, the guy who, you know, killed his brother and tried to also kill his nephew, literally dropped his brother off a cliff.
Long live the king.
I dislike her even more than I dislike Maleficent. Well, actually, I like Maleficent, but if we're talking on scale of evil here, I feel like she's more evil than Maleficent, who literally cursed a baby to die because she was not invited to a party. Okay, and even worse than Claude Frollo, okay, who literally murdered a lady and tried to send her special needs baby down a well to kill it, and then, you know, had raised the baby out of servitude and then forced the baby to, you know, basically be a slave, and, you know, believe that it was deformed and ugly. I guess technically it was deformed. I guess technically it was ugly. But none of this is the point, okay? The point is, this man was evil, you know? And then he tried to, you know, basically Esmeralda, you know, and literally, you know, was like, either you can do that with me or I'll throw you off this cliff into this building into a burning fire.
Be mine or you will burn.
And I like Elsa less than all of these people. And do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? I'm guessing you do, because that's why you clicked on this video. The reason why is because Disney made it seem like she was supposed to be a good guy. You know, anybody who's dressing up as Maleficent or Scar, they're aware that they're playing the villain. And even still, I don't know that I've ever seen anyone dress up as Claude Frollo before, especially not children. Children are not around here like, hellfire, dun dun, hellfire. But there are so many kids who even now in this oh, by the way, spoilers, duh. If you have managed to not see the first and second Frozen by now, then you have lived a much better life than I have. But if you ever wanted to do that, you know, without spoilers and without seeing the video through my lens of cynicism, then feel free to click off of this video, but I wouldn't suggest it because I will save you a lot of wasted time. So as I said, you see my dear friend, we're friends now. You've been here for 3 minutes. My dear friend, the issue is that the most dangerous wolves are not necessarily the ones that appear as wolves, because, you know they're wolves. You could act accordingly. But the wolves that are in sheep's clothing, those are the ones that cause the most damage. And oh my goodness, Elsa is very clearly the villain in both movies. And not only is she the villain, but she has so many problematic behaviors that cause her to be this way that are not only, you know, accepted, but praised and rewarded throughout the films. And I find this extremely dangerous, and I hate using this word, but toxic, as the kids say. You know, and the reason why this is any sort of big deal at all is because there's a quote by Jim Morrison, and he says, whoever controls the media controls the mind. And I've heard other people say, whoever controls the media controls the masses. Or without an objective moral standard, society by and large determines, you know, what's right and what's wrong, what's okay and what's not okay. And the media is used as a huge medium in order to display these things. I mean, even if you look at the TV back in, you know, the 1950s, 60s, 70s versus what is allowed on TV now, it is a stark representation of how the culture has changed. I mean, if you had never met a single human being but had watched movies evolve, you would very clearly be able to see the direction that our culture has taken here in Western civilization. And this movie is so indicative of the mindset of, you know, I would say, you know, pretty much anyone in high school up to now, geez, probably like 45-year-olds. How old are millennials now? I'm sorry if you're a millennial. I know millennials, y'all keep getting it. So what does Elsa tell us about where our country is or where it is going. And I certainly say this definitely is in the is realm of things. So disclaimer, I will not be addressing in this video Elsa's problematic childhood. It's none of my business. And I know you might be saying, well, Danielle, you're gonna go into so much, you know, talking about Elsa and how terrible she is. How can you do that without considering the childhood trauma that Elsa has experienced? Well, yes, I am acknowledging that right now. I'm acknowledging that she had a terrible childhood and that she had parents who made very bad decisions on dealing with the differences, is obviously her powers and things like that. With that being said, though, and this is where we're going to get a little dicey. You know, this is where it's going to get a little dicey. Elsa's an adult. Elsa's 21 years old. Okay, Elsa is 21 years old. I am 22 years old. So I'm not even speaking, you know, on some high, you know, old people soapbox, you know, or anything like that. I am a year older than Elsa. And if I had childhood trauma, it would totally be my responsibility at 22 years of age to get that handled, and to not let, you know, those things that are affecting me affect and put in danger people around me and the people that I love. And then I know, then people, oh, well, you know, a lot of people who have childhood trauma can't recognize it and they don't know that they do. And even still, I'm not faulting Elsa for that. More than anything, I'm faulting Disney for making some sort of play that Elsa is supposed to be an antagonist in the story, and she's the central problem, and we're supposed to affirm and celebrate her behavior when it was morally irreprehensible the entire film. So that is my issue, and so that is why we'll be talking about this. This has nothing to do with her childhood and her trauma and things like that. And you know, if you're a person who has or does struggle with this isn't about you. You know, no one's making a movie about some person who's struggling with these things, and it's the same issue that I have with a lot of rap music and just music in general that glorifies terrible things. Is don't do that, you know. It'd be one thing if, you know what, that's why I'm making a whole video about this. So we'll get into the serious issues and the serious messages that this character portrays that I think are dangerous to little girls, that are dangerous to children, to look at them and view Elsa as some sort of model for the future, or for how, you know, they should handle things in their own life. Also, you can take Anna, who has also experienced childhood trauma, obviously having both of her parents being dead and living in isolation, with no family basically for years. And she's pretty much the anti-Elsa. Throughout the entire film, Anna is consistently showing selflessness, compassion, and care for others, sacrificing and putting the needs of everyone else above the needs of herself. And you could argue that her eagerness regarding, you know, meeting a guy in 5 minutes and falling in love is evidence of her childhood trauma playing out, as far as her dealing with the loneliness in an unhealthy way. However, I would refute that by asking you if you have ever met, I don't know, a teenage girl before, having been one. I can't speak for anybody else. I can certainly speak for myself, though, to say that I certainly had a boy crazy phase where everywhere I went, I was like, am I gonna get married today? Is he gonna be here today? Going to the grocery store, like, oh, that cashier probably is going to be my husband. I'm nearly certain of it. And almost every woman I know has been through a similar phase. In addition to that, if you go to the second movie, at the beginning of the second movie, she's playing with dolls with both of her parents alive, you know, before she has a strange relationship with her sister. And she is already, you know, very into, you know, romance and marriage. And, you know, that is her focus when they're playing the game.
Oh, Elsa, Maple Prince, fancy one. Oh no, the prince is trapped too. Who cares about danger when there's love? Oh, Anna, kissing won't save the forest. The lost fairies cry out. What's on this graphic? Never mind. They make the fairy queen, who breaks the spell and saves everyone. And they all get married.
So you can't attribute her very quick desire. And even in the movie, she talks about how she's not patient. And I know that they're probably doing that as a nod, but it doesn't matter because it supports my theory that that was not evidence of her childhood trauma playing out. I will also say that even if I allow you that point that Anna also has experienced childhood trauma, so why aren't my feelings towards Anna the same as my feelings towards Elsa? Well, because the movie immediately condemns Anna's impulsive behavior. It immediately says, you can't marry a man you just met.
You can't marry a man you just met.
That's kind of the whole trope. And so in a way, you know, they created Elsa to dog on their own films, and, you know, these constant critiques that they have gotten regarding, you know, some of the nature of, you know, the girls falling in love after 3 days and blah, 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 and True Love's first kiss and all that crap. And in that, they have created a message that I feel is worse, or at the very least just as bad. And this is coming from someone who loves Disney movies, so don't feel like that. I can critique the other ones at a different point, but we're talking about this one right now. But this isn't about Anna, so let's get back to Elsa. So the first huge red flag that we see with Elsa is going to be at about 27 minutes, and I'm not going to get monetized for this anyway, so might as well actually play the clips. Roll the tape.
Please, please, I can't live like this anymore. Then leave. What did I ever do to you? Enough, Anna. No, why? Why do you shut me out? Why do you shut the world out? What are you so afraid of? I said enough!
So, as you see, Anna says, why do you shut the world out? And Elsa says she has had enough, and then shoots ice daggers from her hand. And I don't know if you saw that in the clips. I'm going to run it back. If Anna had not moved, then she would have gotten stabbed and probably been dead from one of Elsa's ice daggers. I mean, this is the literal equivalent of if they were arguing and Elsa pulled a knife out on Anna or threw a knife at her and pointed it to her, and this was a threat. This was a, hey, back off or I will hurt you. And regardless if it was intentional or not, people, when they're angry, who throw things, who hit people, they say that it wasn't their fault all the time. And a lot of people respond, these are powers that she's not used to. She can't control it. She was just upset and angry and she didn't mean it. But none of these excuses would be adequate if it was Anna's boyfriend. If there was a man who displayed the exact same behavior, they would say he's angry and he's out of control, and it doesn't matter how he feels or what he disagrees, or the way that he disagrees. He needs to use his words. He needs to have better control of himself. And I think we should give Anna or Elsa the same responsibility, that you need to control yourself. You need to be able to have a better handle on your emotions and to lash out because someone is having a conversation that you don't want to have. And again, I understand that this is largely a result of her childhood, but the problem with that is that Disney does not condemn the behavior. Is that even, we go on into the movie and Anna blames herself for the results of Elsa's inability to exhibit self-control. She literally says that Elsa's outburst is her own fault and makes excuses for her and takes the blame, which is hallmarks of an abusive relationship. This literally sounds like every abusive relationship you ever see in real life or in a movie where, the guy hits the girl and then, she's like, oh, well, it's because I made him mad. If I didn't make him mad, then he wouldn't hit me. All I have to do is stop making him mad and, then everything will be okay. And that's not anything that you want to be teaching your child, to take the blame for someone else's outburst, and not put the onus on the person with the outburst to control himself. And then here we go, and we have the first streak of Elsa's perpetual irresponsibility, and she has now abandoned her sister to run a kingdom alone after you just witnessed, or that you feel like your sister does not have good judgment because she wanted to marry a man that she just met, knowing that you are her last living relative, at least that she's close with to some extent, and you respond like a petulant child throwing a temper tantrum and running away from home when asked very valid questions. And then we get to the big number of the first Frozen movie, where she's in the kingdom of isolation. And this song provides a monsoon of clarity regarding the true intentions of this movie. What is Elsa letting go? You can try to analogize it up all you would like, but she tells you what she is letting go. If you, aren't really paying attention, you might think that she's, letting go, of not being who she truly is and just concealing her powers, and now she's being herself. But she tells you what she's letting go of.
No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free.
She says, no right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. What? What do you mean? No right, no wrong, no rules for you. Elsa, are you throwing out objective morality? Elsa, are you a postmodernist? Is that what's happening right now? Am I getting thrown postmodernism? So right there, Elsa just admits that she's letting go of morality, that she's letting go of her responsibility as queen, her commitment to her family. any desire to discern what is good and honorable and exchanging it for her own definitions of goodness and morality and freedom. This elusive deception and this concept of freedom that is portrayed to us within the feminist movement. What does it mean to be free? Is doing what you want with no regard for anyone other than yourself, is that actually freedom? Quote Elizabeth Elliot. She has a beautiful quote in one of her books. She says, freedom begins with doing what you ought to do, not what you want to do. The woman who defines her liberation as doing what she wants or as doing what she wants or not doing what she doesn't want is simply evading responsibility. And I mean, that just sums up Elsa in a little bite-sized nugget. That sums up what most people's view of freedom is in a bite-sized nugget. It's just the ability to do what they want and don't do what they don't want to do. Anyone can do what they want. It takes no training and no practice to be able to do what you want to do, but it does take training and discipline and practice to do the things that you ought to do, even when it's not necessarily what you want to do in that moment. True freedom is the ability to have self-control. True freedom is the ability to do hard things. It's the ability to go to the gym, to eat healthy, to stop procrastinating on that homework or that work assignment and actually get it done before the deadline. It's the ability to stop smoking, to stop drinking, to stop doing these things that you don't want to do or, that you do want to do in the moment and do the things that you actually ought to do. I mean, if you genuinely think that just doing whatever you want, whenever you want is freedom, ask the person who does it. Ask the person who wants to sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day and does it, when they know that they ought to be actually getting up and going to a job when they get the eviction notice. Ask them if they felt like that was freedom. The people who are chained to gluttony, who are chained to laziness, who are chained to these to all these things that they want to get rid of, it is not freedom at all. It's the exact opposite of freedom. People who have no discipline and self-control are enslaved to their lusts, passions, and desires and are dragged away and enticed by them every single day. And it is the exact opposite of freedom. But this is what they're selling it as because it's easy, and easy sells a lot more easily than discipline does, and self-control and being responsible and an adult, which Elsa is. She's 21. Let's make her act like it. But you'll see throughout the rest of this film, as well as throughout the second one, that not only does Elsa live by this code of no right, no wrong, no rules for me, I'm free, but also the movie rewards her for it time and time again, and ultimately teaches that selfishness provides ultimate satisfaction in life. So Anna gets to the castle, and she apologizes, not Elsa, first of all. Not even when Elsa tells her that she has thrown all of Arendelle into an eternal winter. No apology from Elsa. So then, some may say here, no. We see Elsa's true motive when she's in the conversation with Anna, that she was leaving for selfless reasons. And it was to protect Anna because she knew she couldn't control her powers. And I say, okay? She tells you why in her grand song of empowerment. The song is not, wanna protect my sister from me, she's free. Then maybe, you have some leeway there, but she tells you what she's doing. She tells you her reason for leaving, and it's because she's tired of people telling her what's right and what's wrong. And so she's gonna have the freedom to decide that for herself and live life according to her own standards. She says that in the song. Argue with the lyrics, not me, okay? Anna may be a secondary motive, I'll give her that, but she's certainly not the primary one. And it's like, those deadbeat dads who say, you know what, it was best for me to leave my child because, I'm just so destructive that it'd be better off if I just wasn't in their life at all. And it's just such a cop out. How about just be better? How about be there and be better? How about do that? If you had if you were cognitive enough to make the decision that you were in a bad enough spot to need to not be in their life at all, then you were 100% also cognizant enough to make the decision to just do better in order to stay in this person who's supposed to be important to you, in order to stay in your life. But that's not what Elsa does. So then she almost kills Anna again, giving her an ice blow to the heart, which obviously is how she gets the frozen heart. And we already talked about this again, another outburst of her not being able to control her emotions. And again, it is not a valid excuse to freeze someone's heart, even accidentally. Imagine someone is super angry and they accidentally shoot you. Still not okay. The reason why it happens is not okay. This is all still a result of Elsa not controlling her emotions and being out of control, which again, she still doesn't ever apologize for. And very convenient that she wasn't able to control when she's able to control her powers enough to build an entire ice castle and then a sentient guard snowman. So yeah, just very selective there. So skip to the end of the first Frozen movie, and who selflessly sacrifices himself for their sister? Anna. Obviously, clearly it was not going to be Elsa. What does Elsa do? Eventually, she obviously unfreezes everything, which was her fault to begin with. So she's not getting any points from me there. You don't get points for cleaning up your own mess. Okay, that's what grown-ups do. And does she apologize? No. Is she held accountable for her actions or sent to prison or something or anything? No. She just makes an ice skating rink and everybody pretends that nothing ever happened. Everyone's fine. And Elsa is amazing because she undid the mess that she created to begin with. Great. We're all thrilled. Move on to the second movie. You know, she's learned her lesson. She clearly is going to have some amazing growth in this movie. Of course not. Of course not. Because if that was the case, then maybe I wouldn't be making this. So her selfishness in the second one is undoubtedly worse than it was in the first one, as it is now clear that Anna is so happy. She literally says, you know, everything is okay now because she isn't alone, and she considers now her sister to be a constant in her life.
Not what I mean. I don't worry because, well, I have you and Elsa and Kristoff and Sven, and the gates are open wide and I'm not alone anymore.
And it's something that is never going to change, which admittedly is quite naive, but you know, she feels like Elsa is now here for the long haul, and she's not alone, and she has this amazing boyfriend, and she has, you know, a friend in Olaf, and she has her sister, and the gates are opened up, and she is so happy. She is so happy. And Elsa knows this, you know, and she knows, you know, that she now has a relationship and a bond with her sister, that she is now queen of Arendelle and has a loyalty and a responsibility to her people. And she has relationships and she has responsibility. You know, they have family game nights. And this is why it makes her decisions in this movie so much worse, because she is risking it all. You know, when she left the first time, yes, that was her sister, and that was terrible, but she didn't really have a relationship with her into their adulthood, you know what I mean? And she didn't have a relationship with her kingdom, you know? And you know, they weren't necessarily looking to her. I don't imagine she was doing much governing from her ice-locked room. So there weren't the relationships there. So even though I felt like her leaving initially was a terrible decision, it wasn't as bad as this one. Because this one, you are intentionally leaving and just evading all of these responsibilities that are very clearly yours now. They are at one of these family game nights, and Anna does, when, you know, Elsa is having problems, she's clearly, her mind is somewhere else, and Anna does what Anna always does, which is take care of Elsa. And immediately she assumes that she did something wrong and go ahead and apologizes if that was the case. And, you know, something Elsa is still yet to do at this point. And, you know, Elsa, you know, it's like, oh no, da da da. And then Anna reassures her, you know, and sings her to sleep. So then we have what I feel to be the most telling song in the whole movie regarding Elsa's selfishness and her motive. So we're going to look at some of the lyrics of Into the Unknown. As an aside, this totally could be a song about a married man who is hearing the calls of a tempting woman. And honestly, if you listen to the song through that lens, you clearly identify the destructive and selfish nature of this mindset. So seriously, after this video is over, go listen to Into the Unknown, but think of it from the perspective of a married man, and this voice is a mistress, some, you know, woman who is calling out to him to try to get him to cheat on his wife and to leave and destroy his family. And you will very quickly see that this mindset played out in any area of life, including this one, is just a terrible one to have. So she initially denies the call. She says that she won't go. She acknowledges there's 1,000 reasons I should go about my day. Okay. No, she acknowledges that there are 1,000 reasons that she should go about her day. And she even says, you know, I'm spoken for, I fear, which honestly kind of goes in with my theory about the cheating man, but I digress. She says, you know, I'm spoken for, I fear. She says, everyone I've ever loved is within these walls. So again, she's acknowledging the risk here. She says, and then she says, I've had my adventure. I don't need something new. Again, my parallel with the cheating man is just kind of on par. You know how people say, oh, you know, you sowed your royal oats, you know. She's like, you know, I've had my Playboy days. You know, I've been out there, the first movie, and made all these selfish, irresponsible, reckless decisions. And now I have a family, I have a kingdom, I have things that I have responsibilities. So, you know, this is time for me to put on, you know, my big girl pants and be a grown up, you know, and find, you know, and have commitments and obligation and duty, which are things that just people actually don't exist anymore. And she says, I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you. This is the worst line because it reveals that she's not unaware. This is active decision making. She is weighing the pros and cons. She is acknowledging the risk. This is an active choice, and she sees what's on the table. She sees her sister, her kingdom, all of the relationships and friends and family that she has met and made throughout this time. And on the other side, this unknown. And what does she do? What does she do? She risks it all for the unknown. You don't do that. You can't do that. This is how families are ruined every day. This is how lives are ruined every day. People putting their own desires and their own selfish motives above other people. And so what happens? Surely there's going to be some sort of consequences for this. Let's just keep on watching the movie. And so, a choice to follow her inhibitions and go into the unknown. So she's forsaking her responsibilities and relationships, upholding in her previously stated mantra. And then she's, upholding her previously stated mantra of no right, no wrong, no rules for me. I got no strings to hold me down. Clearly Jiminy Cricket is nowhere in the picture. Her conscience is, squashed like a bug, and she's free, so it doesn't matter. So the rest of the song follows with this rhetoric. She acknowledges that this could be a big mistake, but then justifies her irresponsibility by her feelings. Very typical behavior of this kind of person. And she says, I've had my adventure. I don't need something new. I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you. So she doesn't feel she's where she's meant to be. She's listening closely to the longings instead of actively shutting them out. She feels the power grow, also known as, the temptation. And by the end of the song, she is ready to take the risk, to sacrifice it all at the altar of her feelings in order to embark on this journey of self-fulfillment, asking, how do I follow you into the unknown? Before running off into the thing that could ruin not just her life, but everyone else's life too. Her entire kingdom, her sister, her new family, her family that she's grown into. And to that, I say, grow up. Quoting Allie Beth Stuckey from her book, You Are Not Enough. She says, feelings are not to be unconditionally followed. Rather, they are to be bridled by truth, And you shouldn't follow every inhibition that you get. There are many desires that you will have that are wrong and that will be damaging to not only yourself, but to others around you. Like how cheating doesn't just affect the husband, but it affects his wife and his family and their family and so many other things that cause a chain reaction. And when you only think about yourself in those moments, again, this is how lives are ruined. And so then she tells Anna what happened, and she admits that she did the very thing that her father explicitly warned them not to do. And so here it is, her true deity in all of its glory, feelings. Again, with no evidence whatsoever, she risks everything and everyone due to her own feelings. So, what should have happened during the scene where they're getting everybody out of the village? People die. That's what should have happened is, those sharp looking ice things that came out of the sky should have pierced the flesh, and she should have heard the town crier screaming in the night as he died slowly on the street. When the ground started, quaking, there should have been children getting swallowed whole by the earth. When the wind was pushing people, there should have been a kid who, lost his step and fell off the cliff, and the mother jumped in to get him, and she couldn't swim, and they both drowned. That's what happens. I'm sorry. That's what happens when you make decisions like this. You don't just make it for yourself, but you're putting other people at risk too, and so then we get to do the next right thing mantra, which frankly, I don't really have a problem with. The only issue is that what's the right thing? Elsa's a postmodernist, so there is no right or wrong thing. It's all objective truth. Or excuse me, there's no objective truth. It's all subjective truth. So the next right thing is simply whatever you think is best. And so with no objective standard of truth or morality, everyone's doing what was right in their own eyes. Sounds pretty familiar to me. Then upheaval and destruction are only a few self-serving decisions away. And it's funny because there's this book that kind of says something similar. One of the quotes is, there's a way that seems right to man, but in the end it leads to death. And there's another quote from that same book that says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. And if you ever read the Bible, the Judges is quite interesting, and it's quite parallel in a lot of ways to where our culture is today. And we certainly do not read those passages in, sort of foreign glance of what? Why would people do that? Because we certainly are living in a day and age where everyone is doing what's right in their own eyes. And it's gotten us really far, she said sarcastically. So just 40 minutes, after Elsa ran into fire and gave Anna a heart attack, we get an apology. So why this apology doesn't count is because she will put herself in danger again. So if you apologize for something and then do the same thing again, it doesn't count. Like you didn't actually apologize then. It disqualifies itself. So then we get to the scene on the ship, and Elsa finds out that her parents died trying to figure out the source of her power. So understandably, she blames herself, and then Anna again reassures her. And so if you haven't noticed the pattern here, Anna is consistently taking care of Elsa, checking on Elsa, tending to Elsa. And even the things that Elsa claims that she's doing for Anna's protection, though it may be a motive, it is always only a secondary one. So do not think at all that Elsa sending Anna and Olaf back was an act of selflessness in order to protect them. Based on all of her previous decisions and what her character has shown us this far, it is very clear to me that this decision was made on the basis of her wanting to prove herself to herself, to prove her own worth, to prove that she could do it. It's, all well wanting to redeem the wrong that she feels like she was a part of in her parents' death, as well as fully actualizing herself and fulfilling herself. This is all about Elsa and Elsa doing it on her own. It's not about Anna and keeping Anna or Olaf safe. This is about this is my time to come into myself and to be here and be this strong, independent woman. And so I am going to do this and by myself until you have to go, because this is my moment. So this had such a great opportunity to be an amazing story that showed consequences to kids, because the song from Atahala, the go too far or you will drown, is such a great theme. And the movie doesn't commit to it. Of course it doesn't commit to it, because it has a great setup to show that there are consequences for going too far, but will inevitably take those consequences away and then reward her for going too far. So she, tames the water horse and she goes to Atahalan and she sings Show Yourself, which just confirming every terrible message that these past movies have made, except doing what it's been doing the whole time, is making it seem positive. So there are some pivotal lines in the song. And who exactly is Elsa asking to show herself? What was the voice calling to her? So we get the lyrics at the end. He says, I am found. Those are terrifying lyrics. Show yourself. And so, just in case you think I'm making this up, let's go look up the lyrics meaning as far as what they say it's about. The second meaning is one of self-empowerment, explained in the third verse of the third chorus of the song, where Elsa discovers that the voice inside her has been inside her all along as the incarnation of the fifth spirit. I am found. Much of Elsa's character arc follows her journey of self-discovery. At this point in the film, she has learned much of her history, but at this moment, she finally has all the answers. Not only is she a descendant of the Northalder tribe, but she's also an incarnation of the fifth spirit, the bridge between the four elemental spirits: wind, fire, water, earth. Moreover, she finally has a sense of purpose in her life, which she has lacked up to this point. She's able to see herself for who she is and who she's meant to become, and she is no longer lost. Let me quote Allie again. We are not called to constant introspection and self-discovery, which is good news. We can finally be relieved of the duty to constantly search for ourselves. We don't need to search for our purpose or the meaning of our lives. Come here, I'm gonna tell you a secret. I'm gonna tell you a secret. That this generation and many generations that were its predecessor, not too many, because honestly this is a relatively new problem, because with all the advances we have made in society and technology, many generations prior to ours haven't had the luxury of thinking about finding themselves or what to do with their lives. You just did whatever your family trade was. But I'll tell you a secret. The key to life is not finding yourself. Okay, there you go. I told you a secret. I have just saved you so much time. You were never gonna feel like you perfectly fulfilled and found yourself within and of yourself. You are not the answer that you've been waiting for all of your life. There you go. I just saved you a lot of time. And another quote from C.S. Lewis from Mere Christianity. He says that give yourself up and you will find your real self. Lose your life and you will save it. And nothing that you have not given away will really be yours. And Matthew 16:25 seems to tell a similar tale. Fulfillment is on the far side of sustained unselfish service, not the near side. Then, there's another quote from Tim Keller, Meaning of Marriage, and he says, then generally the question is, if I put the happiness of others ahead of my own needs, what do I get out of it? And it's sad that that is our question is, well, you're saying put other people's needs before my own, but what would I get out of that? And the answer is happiness. Happiness through serving others instead of using them. A joy that comes from giving. And that is something that we are so not accustomed to in this culture that celebrates and rejoices in selfishness, because it's just so embedded in our culture, you know, and you're not the one that you've been waiting for your whole life. And in fact, if you are, then you're in trouble because you kind of suck. And I'm sorry, I say that with all the love in my heart. I suck too. We are in good company. And I mean, objectively, if you think about it, the person who has let you down more than anyone in this world is you. You know, I mean, just this week, think about how many things that you probably told yourself that you were going to do that didn't get done. There's no force of magic answers inside of you that will unlock or solve all of your problems. I will help you. You know, there's no daily affirmations, no inner peace, no meditating findings, no moving to a different place, because unfortunately, you will be with you in that new place that you move. No daring adventure, no silent retreat, no special set of words or rituals will ever make you enough. And I don't say this to discourage you, but to encourage you, because it should take an enormous weight off of your shoulders to know that you are not the source of your own fulfillment. So then what is? I'm not a defeatist. Stay to the end. I'm going to give you the answer to that. But let's continue with the movie. So she goes too far and she ends up freezing to death. And again, her search for truth is not a noble one, but one motivated by self-discovery. Because if she froze to death, who exactly does that help? You know, only thinking of what she wants in that moment. She had no idea if even her going down there would give her the answer that she wanted. And then Olaf gets Thanos snapped away. Anna's left alone. And now I'm going to make a point about the whole fake death scene at the end. So I'll save my thoughts on that until then. Anna risks her life then again, almost getting killed by the earth monsters, you know, while they're throwing rocks in order to break the dam and to free the forest. So the dam breaks and then is about to destroy Arendelle. And now Elsa has come back to life and she stops it. They're all back together. And then Olaf makes this comment about how they've all been changed when they haven't. Anna is still selfless. Elsa is still putting herself first. And then Elsa cops out by saying that Anna is better fit to be queen, which she is. But again, there's nothing about Elsa that would indicate anything other than this being a secondary motive for her now living the life that she wants, being able to go and be free. So there you go. You see that there were absolutely no consequences for any of Elsa's selfish decisions, but that they were all praised and rewarded. This had the opportunity to be a very valuable lesson, with Elsa freezing to death, Olaf never coming back, the entire kingdom being destroyed, because, you know, she went too far. She took a risk, and she put everything on the line. And a lot of times when you're making selfish decisions like that, it doesn't pay off. But of course, Disney is not going to take that route. The entire embodiment of who Elsa was designed to be a reflection of the narrative that is just consistently spewed at us from all forms of media. The call and the push to put yourself first, to prioritize your own desires, even over your spouse and your children, to eliminate everything in your life that doesn't directly benefit you. Lord forbid you have a friendship or any activity you're involved in that's for the sake of someone or something else. You know, consistently condemning selfless behavior as foolish and a waste of time and a result of bad priorities. You know, sayings like, you know, don't cross oceans for someone who wouldn't cross ponds for you, or putting yourself first isn't selfish, it's necessary. In a culture that we are saturated with the rhetoric that we are enough, yet we are consistently selling out in self-help material. Quite ironically, you would think that if you were enough, you wouldn't need a book to figure out how to be enough, because, you know, you and all of your enoughness would just shine and sparkle like the sun, right? And Elsa's entire character arc is one of self-discovery, which in the end, you know, is completed with her saying that she's the one that she's been waiting for all of her life. She's the answer to her problem. I touched on a bit earlier that that's a burden that I want to remove from you, and not because it's mine to give or remove, but because there's somebody who's already taken the burden, and you might just not be aware that it's happened. You know, I thought about how I kind of wanted to word this, but someone's done it a lot better than me, and better than I probably ever could. So I'll just read what they said, and that's Allie Beth Stuckey again. And so here's the answer to this whole journey of self-fulfillment and self-discovery, and why it doesn't begin or end with you. We don't know who we're supposed to be. And our ideas of what our purpose is are both changing and elusive. The standards we set for ourselves are ever evolving, so we're never fully content with who we are or what we're doing. But when Jesus is on the throne of our lives, he has the authority to give us our identity and purpose, and in him, these things never change. In his life, he set an example of kindness and love, and in his death, he paid the debt that we owed for our sins so that we could be reconciled to a holy God. And in this resurrection, he conquered sin and death so that those who believe can live forever with him. There's a reason Jesus describes himself as living water and the bread of life, and it's because he satisfies. The searching for peace and purpose stops in him alone. He created us. Therefore, only he can tell us who we are and why we're here. When Jesus saves us, we are made into new creations and children of God. And as such, our goal is to glorify him in everything we do. And we don't have to wonder what it's all about anymore. That's it. It's in exchange for the confusion and exhaustion that comes with trying to be enough. He gives us peace and relief in exchange for the superficial confidence that comes with unsatisfying self-care. Jesus offers a steadfast assurance and trust in his faithfulness. That's why the fact that you or I am not enough is okay. In fact, it's great that you aren't meant to be enough, and neither am I. And so if you're interested, I would highly, highly, highly recommend Allie's book, You Are Not Enough, and That's Okay, Escaping the Toxic Culture of Self-Love. And for those of you who might be thinking at this point, is this just a promo for this book? It's totally not. I actually had all of these thoughts before Allie had even come out with this book for me to read. But when I did read it, I was so glad that I hadn't made this video yet, because I think it is a perfect remedy to so many girls, so many women who look at someone like Elsa and who have been living like Elsa, putting, themselves first, having self-care days, looking at all this self-help information and wondering, what am I missing? Why does it not feel right? What is it that's not there? Why is, doing everything for myself still so unfulfilling? I cut all the toxic people out of my life, and, I've been, doing my affirmations. I've been meditating. I've been, doing all these things that everyone says are supposed to work, and they don't. That's because they don't. They can't. They can't give you cannot be the problem and the answer. But there is an answer, and that answer has come in the form of a person, Jesus Christ. And, when I started about making this review, I had no intentions of it going here, but I am not a defeatist. I'm not a fatalist. I don't believe in presenting large problems like this without also presenting a solution. So I would have been remiss to not give you an answer and an opposite to this constant, just a hamster on a wheel, consistently and continually searching for something that outside of Christ you're never going to find. And of course there'll be a lot of people who watch this video and strongly disagree with me, and that's fine, but you can't say you didn't hear about it because you heard it here. And if you don't agree, then that's also fine. At the very least, understand that you doing stuff for yourself isn't going to provide a fulfilling life. And there are even, atheists and secular artists who indeed agree that they do have a much more fulfilling life when they spend it pouring out to other people. So I would encourage you to get involved in your community, to be friends with someone where they're getting the benefit and you're not, where you're helping them and you're inspiring and motivating them, and maybe you don't really get anything out of it, and even in that friendship, I guarantee you will. Teaching and pouring out into other people gives you so much, and it's really one of those things that it doesn't make sense until you do it. And it's sad how many people in our culture haven't even ever dedicated time to be concerned with the needs of others, because our culture has told us that that's a bad idea, that we should be concerned with ourselves and ourselves first, and eventually, ourselves alone. So I will have that, the You Are Not Enough book, as well as some of the other books that I have quoted from in this video, like Discipline by Elizabeth Elliot, The Glad Surrender, as well as The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. It's like I've been preparing for this video all my life with the books that I've been reading, because they all touch on this idea of, selflessness and sacrificing for others, because, they're at the core of Christian values. And even if you wouldn't consider yourself a Christian, or, have rejected the message of Christ, there's no debate that these things are good. and that there is objective morality, and that the things are good. So these books will be in the description if any of you are interested in reading them and learning more about this. I would 1,000,000% recommend it. I know we've gotten way off topic, some might think, but with that being said, comment below, what are your thoughts on Elsa? These were the fundamental reasons why I thought this movie and this character were atrocious. Again, because they were just supporting all of these terribly evil and just immoral and behaviors that I would not want my I don't have a daughter, but if I had one, I wouldn't, or I have a niece, I wouldn't want my niece to watch this and think that, doing what's best for you is always the right thing to do, and that putting your needs before everyone else's and making decisions without considering the consequences and having blatant disregard for duty, commitment, obligation, and responsibility, or that just doing what you want to do when you want to do is actually freedom. That's just enslavement. So hopefully you got something out of this video. It probably turned out to be a bit more than you planned on it being. And don't worry, it turned out being a lot more than I planned on it being when I started doing it too. So, I mean, if you like the content, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend to trick them as well. I didn't mean to trick you, I tricked myself. So, hey, and if you have any suggestions for things that you want me to give my commentary on, that is primarily what I do on this channel. Yeah, giving my view on just a variety of content. So if you have anything that you would like me to comment on, be it a movie, be it politics, be it anything else, just let me know. This video topic was actually recommended, or amend, shall I say, because I asked if anybody wanted to see it, and this person right here did let me know that they wanted to see it. So thank you so much for commenting. Hopefully you made it all the way to the end of this video. And if you have a request as well, just make sure you leave it in the comments below, and I will see what I can do. So stay safe. Don't be an Elsa.